Hi, I'm Angela. This is Vince. If you're new here, we travel around full-time in our RV, sharing historical stories, roadside oddities, just kind of whatever we find. And, and so today's video is going to be all about our time in Salem. We went to Salem just before October started, so the crowds weren't quite what they are in October. We've heard horror stories about the crowds in October. I've heard it was 3-hour waits for restrooms and restaurants. So
it was even busy at the end of September. I can imagine October.
We did a lot of research. Obviously, there's a lot of videos out there, but nobody really talks about. They kind of talk about their specific things that they want to do. You know, whether it's the Hocus Pocus shooting locations or the Witch Museums itself or anything. We just kind of wanted to do the whole of all the history of Salem. So we started at the Peabody Essex Museum, and that has a good, credible history of all the witchcraft there.
Yeah.
So among other things, but they do have the exhibit on the witchcraft history, which was what we kind of wanted to go for, and it's the oldest continuing operating museum in the U.S., founded in 1799. So it was interesting just to be there anyways. It wasn't an old building. It is a new building, but it was interesting just to be there. They do have the Salem Witch Trials exhibits with the documents and a couple of artifacts. There aren't too many artifacts left, but, you know, they had
there's just not that many artifacts left from 1692. I mean.
It's a while ago. But they do have all the documents and do a good job of telling the actual story, not some kind of Hollywoodized story to it. So we started there to get the history, and then moved out to Proctor's Ledge Memorial, which is going to be hop in the car and drive again to get out there. But this was confirmed in 2016 as the true site of the executions. So 19 people were hanged there, but none were burned. They were hanged.
And I believe there was one person that was pressed to death.
Yeah, I don't believe it happened out there, but
all right.
Yes. And then we went back into town and hit the Bewitched Sculpture, of course, because you can't have been Gen X growing up with the TBS reruns and not hit the Bewitched Sculpture.
It was unveiled in 2005 by TV Land to honor the setting being in Salem.
And then the Witch House. And it's the only structure left in Salem that is directly tied to the witch trials that's still standing. It was the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin, who presided over many of the trials. We actually didn't take the tour of the witch house.
No.
It kind of, when you travel all the time, you get a little bit choosy on what tours you're going to do. And there's only so many houses and distilleries. Yeah. And breweries.
And it gets expensive. I mean, you start to pick and choose when everything is, $15, $20 a piece, and there's two of you. It starts to add up. So you get a little selective on which museums or which houses, like you said, or which breweries, whatever you decide to go in.
So we actually skipped the rest of the museums. The only museum we did was the Peabody Essex Museum, because we felt like it was going to be the one that told the true history. And so some of the museums in Salem are rather a little goofy. But I say that's the only museum. We did do the National Historic Site, which is somewhat of a museum on its own. But the Salem Maritime National Historic Site, which is a Bark Ranger program. So the dogs got their Bark Ranger badges. And we hit it, obviously, before the shutdown happened. So we were lucky enough to squeeze that one in. Because we're missing quite a few of them in the Boston area, but
and unfortunately,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that one wasn't completely open because they're doing some renovations to the ship. But we got to see what we could see, and it was interesting. So
yeah. And then we headed across the street to the Ye Old Pepper Candy Company. And it is the oldest candy company in the U.S. And so there were blackjack sticks that we had to try, and something that was the Gibraltars were way too sweet. Way too sweet. This is our biggest sugar stop.
Yeah.
With everything that there is in Boston, we've had more sugar on this stop than we did in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's been insane.
If you can believe that.
So you have to run in. And they did have the turtles, were one of Oprah's favorites one year.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh, they were so good. And then obviously we went by a couple of the Hocus Pocus filming locations. That wasn't really our intent because they are private homes. So if you choose to go on one of those tours, kind of be respectful. I think that the people probably expect there to be people coming by at this point, but just be respectful that it is
someone's house. Yeah.
So we just happened by a couple of them as we were walking around the town for other things. And then you'll see the Salem Witch Museum and the sculpture out front. We did not stop at it either. It was late September when we were there, and you can see the lines were already insane. So we did not stop there either. But it has been around a while too. It was the only other museum that I kind of would have maybe done had it not been, because it's been around since 1972 and is somewhat authentic too, I think. And then of course you have to hit the old Burying Point Cemetery and the Witches' Trial Memorial, and they're just right there next to each other.
So they have, it's interesting how they do it, because there's a stone, I guess you call it a ledge, that almost looks like a bench that comes out from the wall, and it has the name and the date and the method of execution engraved onto each one for each of the victims. So
Which is all hanged except for the one that was pressed.
Yeah. Again, nobody was actually burned at the stake. I don't know where that fallacy came from, at least. Okay.
Probably, I don't know.
But it is interesting. And then in that area, there's a lot of, like, there's a haunted house, there's a bookstore, and all this tied to the commercialization, I guess you would call it, of Salem, which is interesting. I mean, you can get some interesting, souvenirs in there, but it's not the true history of Salem.
And as you walk down the streets, it's a big cosplay area, so you'll see a lot of people doing different cosplays and things like that. I'm sure even in October it gets even more abundant. Sure. And I think we were there on a Friday early afternoon, so it was, I'm sure it just gets progressively busier as the night progresses. But it was an interesting stop.
Yeah. I'm definitely happy we did it.
Yeah, I'm happy we did it. Everybody should do it once. And it's so close to Boston when you're already in Boston. Why not do it? I think it took us like an hour to get there. It would have been worse in October from what I hear. Yeah. There's like one road in, the traffic really backs up.
And parking too is, I mean, especially, we're in a large truck.
Yeah.
But I think it would even be challenging if you were in a smart car. I mean.
Yeah, which is why we went so early in the day, was to get there as one of the first people rather than one of the last people because of the truck size. So, but it was fun. Definitely a spooky season thing to do. So glad we did it, and we'll be back to more of our normal next week with the Boston Freedom Trail and Boston food coming up. So and the food has been incredible in Boston.
Yeah, especially the North End.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you should do at least once. But if you like this video and you like our content, please hit that subscribe and like button. It'll send you notifications when we have new videos up. Other than that, we hope to see you on the road.